Hello friends, welcome to Houseplant Tips and Tricks. My name is Nick and today we're going to discuss how to increase humidity without using a humidifier. This series is sponsored by repotme.com. Get all of your indoor gardening supplies delivered to your door from one place. Repotme.com has practically anything you need for your orchids, succulents, and houseplants, including handmade potting mixes, planters, fertilizers, and much more. I used to use a humidifier in my home to supplement humidity, but it's not something I've used in the last couple of years. I'm just not obsessed with living in a wet, foggy apartment. And while it keeps my plants happy, I gotta keep myself happier, you know what I mean? So I've nixed the humidifier from my arsenal and I've turned to other ways to keep up the humidity for my plants. In the spring and summer months, you really don't even need to worry about supplementing humidity in your home. The level you're gonna find indoors is going to be perfectly fine and adequate for most of your houseplants. It's really only in the winter months or the colder months when the heat kicks on that is going to dry out your home immensely, and that is really the only times that I notice issues with my plants that are a little bit more finicky when it comes to the humidity. I think prayer plants is probably the most common example of plants that you're going to find at your local houseplant store that this is going to apply to. I feel like I enter every winter with like 5 to 10 prayer plants and leave every winter with like 2 or 3 of them. I'll always pick up a couple of them over the summertime because they're so gorgeous and they're really easy to grow when the humidity's high. It's when the heat kicks on that we're gonna start to get some brown edges on our leaves, or the new leaves that are coming in are gonna come in much smaller, or they might come in with brown edges already on them, or your leaves might form blemishes on them. There's plenty of things that can happen. It's never beautiful, but we can always learn from it. This prayer plant, by the way, is a Calathea mosaica, or more recently known as a Gepertia Kegeljanii. It's a total mouthful. Don't worry about it. Calathea mosaica is perfectly fine. And this one over here is a Tenanthe Burl Marxii, a really sturdy houseplant, probably the most resilient prayer plant out of all the prayer plants, but still you might notice some brown edges and blemishes on this one when the humidity drops. And you're gonna notice it with other plants that you're gonna find at your local houseplant stores that are going to be humidity lovers as well, like ferns, begonias, and peperomia. So when you're growing these plants in your home, you always wanna keep the humidity up, but like I said, I don't love living in a wet, moist room, apartment, home, whatever you have. It's not fun unless you're like delegating a plant room, or if you have like a greenhouse attached to your home, like good for you. I don't have that in my home. I live in an apartment in the city, a 1-bedroom apartment, so I have to make do. And since ousting the humidifier from my home, I have since just found a couple of ways that I'm able to keep my plants happy while also keeping myself happy and not all sweaty, because honestly, well, not too bad right now, but I get sweaty enough. This is gonna be a little bit more of a field trippy episode of Houseplant Tips and Tricks. We're not going far. We're just gonna take a walk over to my bedroom. That's where I have my plant shelves, and that's the location where I keep most of my plants that require a little extra humidity. So let's go take a walk. Alrighty, we are back here in my bedroom at my shelf situation. If you've been following me here on YouTube for a while, you might remember these shelves being much more full and lush in the past. You might also recall me saying that I'm kind of getting tired of these shelves and I'm trying to retire them. So they're really just serving for function at this point. They serve function incredibly, but it's not really my aesthetic anymore. So less and less plants on them as I start to phase them out of my home. However, as I just said, the function is incredible with these, and I really utilize this space to grow some of my plants that require a little bit extra humidity. And you might be noticing the couple of ways already that I am able to do so. I think the one that's might be catching your eye the most, because it's kind of an eyesore, I might admit, is the plastic bags. So these are just, you know, like gallon bags, freezer bags, whatever you have, and I'm kind of using them to replicate like a terrarium situation, similar to these, but we'll talk about those in a moment. This is just a really easy, inexpensive way to supplement some humidity for your plants. In fact, this plant right here, you might see from the tag, very, very long name. This is the Philodendron Campos Portuanum. We used this philodendron a couple months ago in another episode of Houseplant Tips and Tricks where we turned 1 philodendron into 10 plus, and this is the base of the plant. And since there's no leaves on the plant, it's just a stem with a node, I put this plastic bag over top to increase the humidity as it would if it was in a greenhouse where, you know, these are most apt to growing the way that they would in their natural habitat. We are in a house or an apartment, not a greenhouse. The humidity is low, especially right now, we're in the winter months. So in order to supplement humidity, oh gosh, it was easy to get off with one hand. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it on with one hand. I put these Ziploc bags over top. There we go. Keep it vented at the bottom a little bit because sometimes if it's completely enclosed, you can maybe have some fungal issues or some mold. So I let it breathe a little bit, but inside here, the humidity is much higher than it is outside. And this is something I do pretty often for plants that I cut back to the base. So right up here is a philodendron white princess. I just cut them back to a stump and then supplement them with some extra humidity from the plastic bag. And then after a couple of weeks, you'll notice some new growth. If it was the summer months or the growing season, I'm sure we'd have some much quicker activity with this guy. You might also notice, as I was just pointing out, the glass cloche. So this is another way that I really like to supplement humidity in my home, and it's probably the most stylish way to do so. Inside here is a Cissus amazonica, also one that I had cut back to the base. I think I took it out of the glass cloche when I was at my old space before moving, and it was not happy with me. So once I moved back here, I put it back inside the glass cloche, and it took a little bit of time, but now we're getting some real nice growth on it. And if this was not inside the glass cloche or some kind of terrarium-like setting where the humidity is higher, this would not be able to grow. This would have been toast and would have been garbage. Now this and the plastic bag are both very similar situations. This is just really the inexpensive way to do it, and that's not going to be like a forever situation, versus these glass cloches are more perfect for plants like this Cissus amazonica that need to stay in higher humidity settings indefinitely. If I move over a little bit, you might see I have this Peperomia campylotropha in here that's been growing incredibly, terrarium style peperomia, or not terrarium style, but a peperomia that's going to really appreciate terrarium settings. And many peperomia, if you have problems with them, if you maybe try growing them inside a glass cloche like this, you might be surprised at how well they grow. And I think that can be said for most of the plants that you'll find in the terrarium selection that you have at your local houseplant stores. If you've tried them a couple times and you've had no success, but you really like it, try getting a glass cloche for it. And you can find glass like this pretty easily at your local big box stores or thrift stores. Oh my gosh, I love looking at thrift stores for any type of glass that I can use to grow plants inside. You can even get really creative, and there's a bunch of different options. Like maybe check out the baking area or the serveware stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of glass options that could be really utilized for houseplants and look amazing. And something that I've been utilizing for the past couple of months, I have down here at the bottom, are these humidity trays. So these are from repotme.com. I will leave these linked in the description below. If you do click through the link and make any purchases, not just on the humidity trays, on anything through the link, I will get a commission, so thank you so much. But these are just trays that hold water inside them, and specifically since it's inside this shelf area, which is slightly enclosed, not completely enclosed, it's still open on the outside, and closed on the top and the bottom, kind of closed on the back, you know what I mean. It's adding some humidity in this lower area right here. I also really appreciate it because I'm able to just keep these terracotta pots here, as you can see, and I have my watering can conveniently right here, so I can go ahead and just give this anthurium a drink, which I've been nursing back to health, which really could use some extra humidity, and I don't really have to worry about the fact if my tray overflows, or I don't even keep trays because the water is just going to drip into the humidity tray below. You do want to change the water that sits in the tray. I'd say probably every 2 weeks at the maximum, because water sitting can get gross decently quick. Oh, we have a muffin coming to say hello. Muffin, I am busy talking about my humidity trays right now. You could load these up with a bunch of plants, and if you keep the plants more crowded, the humidity might be even higher. And you can see right here, this is another little philodendron stump that I'm trying to get to put off some new growth. And instead of having it inside a glass cloche or inside a gallon bag, I just have it sitting on top of the humidity tray here. These come in different sizes, so you can get whatever size is going to work for you and whatever shelf situation or whatever surface situation you're working with your houseplants. I could see these working incredibly well inside those greenhouse cabinets that have been all the rage all over social media, especially if you're working with some plants that will really appreciate some additional humidity, like those crystalline anthuriums that have also been all the rage as of late. So I believe that covers all the bases on these methods that I'm using right here on my shelves to increase the humidity. I purposely am not talking about, although I guess I'm talking about it now, but I'm purposely not talking about spraying your plants with water with a spray bottle, because you've all heard that before, and you've all probably heard that it's really not going to make much of a difference. Will your plants love having their leaves sprayed with water? Absolutely, they will love it. It's just really not going to raise the humidity any more than we're at. Oh, geez. Coming in hot there, Muffin. But that's really all I have to say, so I think we're gonna go ahead and migrate back to our little table situation in the living room. Okay, we are back on location to wrap up today's video. I hope you learned something new. I hope you're able to supplement some extra humidity to some of your plants that might need it, and I hope you can get creative with it in the process. There is much more you can do than what I have than just these little cylindrical dome cloches. You can go find some really, really nice stuff if you keep an eye out when you're at your local thrift stores particularly, or any craft stores. I'm sure you can find something really nice. I will leave the humidity trays that I talked about from repotme.com in the description below. And just a reminder, if you click through that link and you make any purchases on repotme.com, I will earn commission. So thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. So that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me, and once again, thank you to repotme.com for sponsoring Houseplant Tips and Tricks. I always love making these videos in this series. If you don't already, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at phillyfoliage. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to my Patreon if you want to support me monetarily, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.